crushes me or just so disappointing is the fact that the Mariners, Astros, and Texas are right there, and the Angels have just fallen off the map. And then Shohei Ohtani, obviously the news of him tearing his UCL is just
the Ohtani situation is sad and it's multifaceted. One of them is that it's just bad for baseball, right? Like you have a guy who could pitch like Ohtani, then go up and just smash dingers all night long and then strike you out in the next inning. It's just something that we haven't heard of. A lot of people obviously comparing him to Babe Ruth, to whomever. Could be the best player of all time had he continued his career at the trajectory he was continuing it on. And so that just sucks. And now there's talk of him like not pitching ever again. And so now that's starting to creep in. So a lot of mainstream media type.
Yeah, they love throwing that out there, right? Look, Tommy John surgery, if you get it, they've made it so you can come back. But I think the biggest part is
he's already had it once.
I think the biggest part of it is, and that's a good point, it's the physical toll or mental toll. Physically, you can get, you're going to have this time and you know what it's going to be. But the mental toll of having to sit out and to grind that through and to try to get yourself prepared, that's the thing that just sucks. And you hate, like, talk about that. That's like my hate to see it. I hate to see that this is happening.
Yeah. To me, and I guess the other question, like I said, it's multifaceted. So obviously it's not great for the game just because of how exciting it was to just watch him come out, and he was must-see TV every night. But now that, the other question is, what's it look like for his contract? Lots of people out there talking about his contract being worth, $500 million, $600 million. Now what happens if he decides that he's not going to pitch again and that he's just going to be a pure hitter? What does that contract look like? If it were me, if I'm the GM, I'm knocking $100-200 million off of that right out of the gate.
Well, and again, we went back to the Stanton contract, and again, that's just a hitter. But that was $325 million, and Stanton had the contract till he was 38, I believe, is what we said.
Yeah.
And again, that's just for one position, and it's how do you quantify that with Ohtani? And even the greatness of it is how long are you expecting him to be great? And what made him – he's going to be – like he could get that amount of money on its own right now because of how talented he is. Like you would give him the Stanton deal, no doubt. But it was his pitching that is what really – separate. I mean, we saw that's why he's called a unicorn. Like, it's interesting. His wins above replacement, no one's even close to him. And you just hope for Ohtani in the sake of it. And for contracts, I just wanted to see what the number was going to be. I wanted to see what people were going to bid. Like, that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
To be like, how much dough are you going to throw at a guy that you believe is truly once in a lifetime or lifetimes?
Yeah.
And we're not going and we're still going to possibly see that, but it's going to creep into his mind because as he approaches 30, the reality is going to set in. What are you going to expect from him? What do you want from him? It is what it is.
Yeah, we got so Jim Palmer, our very own, said baseball loses the best all-around player, Shohei Ohtani, with second UCL tear and pitching elbow. Baseball loses a player that was the Superman of hitting, pitching, unprecedented. Wish him a speedy recovery, both mentally and physically. And I guess the question that I would ask you, Ryan, would be, if you are Shohei Ohtani, do you decide to go through the surgery or do you just call it quits and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to hit now? Like, what's that look like? Are you going to be now playing a role of a Giancarlo Stanton, or do you go through it again and you want to be back on that mound?
I think as a competitor, as a player, he wants to be back on that mound, And I mean, because not only was he just, you're like, go out there, you can give us some innings. Like the dude was dominant,
But like, is he going to do it? Like, it's not a matter of like
he wants to. My guess is he wants to do it, but I'm sure teams are going to have discussions with it.
Yeah.
I mean, well, hey, if we're going to give you money in long term, what do we want? And most teams are probably going to say that your bat is so good, that's something we think can stay a little bit longer. Just because having a second Tommy John, not that like we've seen the Verlanders and the Scherzers, they're the 40s, pushing that. Verlander already is, and you can see the value of it, but it's a lot to ask.
Yeah,
it's a lot to ask in the pitching sense. Well, man, I'm just bummed out, and just like in general with the Angels, Like,
well, Mike Trout's back on the IL now too.
he came back and he's back on the IL, but the fact is they go all in, and I don't blame him for trading Shohei. And then whammy
not trading Shohei.
for not trading Shohei. And then whammy, you guys just fall out of the race before Trout comes back, and then Trout comes back, and then he's done.
Yeah.
And then Ohtani's hurt. Like, it's to close it out. It's a bummer for baseball. And people can say, well, I heard some people say, people are freaking out. Like, it's not like the guy died or anything happened. It's sad because think about it this way. If we're being completely honest about the sport of baseball, I mean, Shohei,
he was just good for baseball. It's like, and I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's perfect.
But like, it was Shohei Ohtani. The best way I can compare it to, and I know that I'm sounding like a homer right now, but it was like Lamar Jackson entering the league.
Yep.
Everybody just wanted to watch him play. It didn't matter who you were a fan of. If you were just a fan of the sport, you just wanted to watch the guy play.
Yeah.
And so, like, Lamar Jackson was that guy who could run and throw the ball. And Shohei Ohtani, I feel like, is a great comparison because he could be an excellent pitcher, one of the best pitchers, and then also come out and just tear the cover off the ball. And it was just something that you had not seen. And so the fact that we're not going to see that, I just think it just sucks for baseball.
Yeah. Well, then again, if we're going to put it this way, the NFL or football in general rules the country as far as sports.
Yeah.
College and NFL. Like, there's no denying that.
Without question.
But with the same comment or the thought here, Shohei, why he was great, you can say what you want, but the fact that Shohei was a talent that it was must-see TV. If he came to your town, you wanted to know what he was doing. He's not just a superstar for the game of baseball. Yeah. He is an international icon, an ambassador for the sport. And you can say how much you like a player like a Bryce Harper who signed a big deal or Mike Trout. But Shohei Ohtani is everything that you'd want the sport to be, and everyone gravitated towards him. That's why it's sad, because even with a losing Angels team, everyone was tuning in. When the Angels came to Baltimore, you wanted to be at that game. And now that he's hurt, everyone revolves around it. And, going back to the Delta 9 Brian here, that's it. That's a perfect example. As an Orioles fan,
100%. That's exactly what we're talking about.
That's like, if you're not a fan of other teams, great. Everyone's not a fan of other teams, but you're rooting for a guy because you love seeing what he's doing.